Dust is a project built on community. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. And as we move forward and build as a community, even in a decentralized environment, we need a little bit of structure to help us become a lot more effective, to help build our project even further than where we've got it through today. Today, we're pleased, honored to be joined by Exit the Matrix. He's going to talk to us about some developments within our community that can lead us to further growth, further excitement. Exit, welcome to Ron's Basement.
So much, Ron. Really appreciate it. And thanks for having me on again and for the great intro. And hello, Dusters.
That's right. Horns up, Dusters.
Horns up. My purpose today is threefold, actually. One is to provide a bit of transparency, provide transparency, period. Second is to provide a bit of education, and to showcase the areas where you, yes, I mean you, Miss and Mr. Duster, can contribute to. Just so you know, there is an ask that's coming here. And we've had some heated debates on the timeline, maybe with a smaller group, but still with folks regarding the name leadership team. We've also had some internal discussions regarding the structure. We've listened to all sides, and we also looked inward. So deep, it actually got a little scary. Just kidding. We kept on working. We kept a meeting on every Monday to continue to build value for the community and to ensure that critical functions were maintained without bumping into each other too much, right? We're keeping a balance between, like as Ron said, some of that structure and not being overly handcuffed to it, so that we still have the flexibility and so that we can leverage the benefit of the decentralized nature of UFD. Now, if you're scratching your head and thinking like, what's all this about? Because you may not have the context, let me provide that. So several months ago, we started to organize a structure that would serve the community by ensuring that key functions were being carried out. So think about it like organized chaos of rating, the management of events, carrying out various marketing tasks, for example, the UFD mural in UK, the work that's going on IP, creating community resources such as our Discord, along with the moderators group there, our websites, along with the connections that it has to various information sources, plus evaluating things like partnerships, collaborations, managing funds, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this.
Let me interject. There is a lot of stuff that goes into running Unicorn Fart Dust. No doubt. Sorry, I wanted to throw that in. Exit.
No, please do, Ron. And then, we can keep it almost like a dialogue. That's actually even better.
Yeah, well, and I want to interject something here as well. From day one, from the very early days of Unicorn Fart Dust, I was always getting this question: what about the team? What about like people? Like we want to be a decentralized, community-driven project, no doubt about it. But people also want some structure, and I don't think that any successful meme coin project, any organization, can really truly be super successful without a bit of structure in place. That doesn't take away from anyone out there ability to make a big massive impact in this project, but we're just not, and I want to say this as well, this is not like an authoritarian. I've said it all along, and you and I have joked about this, like I'm not like everybody out there is as much the CEO of Unicorn Fart Dust as I am. We aren't coming down with some authoritarian dictator dictates, like, right? Like we want people to be able to be able to be involved in this project, but to be able to do it in a very effective way. And I'm sorry I rambled there. Exit, go ahead.
Not at all. That's valuable, and that's absolutely true. I'll riff off of that a little bit, because if we think about a function of a CEO, and if you were to think about someone coming into a company to be at its helm, and that person just sat behind a desk, closed their door, and never came out, never really sent many messages, didn't really do anything, you'd go like, sorry to say, but they're getting fired. Like that's not gonna last. Yeah. So we are all CEOs, but it's the activity that really enables it. It's the activity that powers it. Other than that, it's just like an EO, like an officer essentially, but but that's it. They're not really doing anything. So that's important to keep in mind, and in addition to all the work that's been happening and that we've been doing, we're also continuing to evolve how we execute that work. It's not just the what, but it's also the how, and how our functions interrelate in such a way that honors the distributed and autonomous nature of our community, as well as harnesses the central functions of the business that has legal, financial, contractual, and other components. And I was thinking about this quite a bit, and I was actually chatting with a few dusters as well more recently, folks who were very much favoring decentralization and kind of shying away from the central component. And I posed a couple of questions because those are things that are bouncing around in my mind as well, which is, imagine getting legal advice in a fully distributed, decentralized fashion. So passing a contract for review to 10 or 20 different lawyers in various countries and having to pay them all, by the way, which is not insignificant.
Right.
And then trying to take the best or the thing that you like the most from each of the pieces of advice that you received and trying to make a decision based on that. Like, it just wouldn't work, right? It's the same with finances. If we were to ask 20 different accountants and then pulled out little piece of what each one of them said and try to couple something together, that wouldn't work either. So while, of course, there are pieces that are very much distributed, and that's our community and the work we're doing within the community, where there's a massive amount of value from the collective genius that comes together, there are certain things that require centralization in order to work. And those things are like bulls, that are facing each other. They're bumping horns against each other, and sometimes there are sparks.
Yeah.
So how do we make it so that they're actually, rather than bumping against each other, running in concert and adding strength to the forward motion? I mean, that's the trick, right? That's the trick. And yeah, please go.
Oh, I just had the biggest epiphany of my life. Well, of the day anyway. Can I share it with you right now?
Please.
Okay, so it would be like if Unicorn Fart Dust, if our community, let's say we all lived out in the middle of the country. I'll say somewhere in the United States, the middle of rural Illinois. Okay, and we all lived together out there, and we didn't have a fire department. Okay, and we all came together and said, look, we've got 30,000 of us living here in this community, Unicorn Fart Dust land, together in the middle of Illinois, but we don't have a fire department. What if a fire breaks out? And then if we just did it in a completely decentralized way and all said, hey, you know what? If a fire breaks out, I'll volunteer. I'll go help put the fire out. I will too. But if there was no structure behind that, even though it's a volunteer fire department, if there was no real structure or anything put in place, like an action plan, like, well, if a fire does break out, then we need to call this person who's going to call this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if a fire did break out and it was just a bunch of people said, yeah, I want to be part of the crew to put the fire out, it probably wouldn't be very effective. But some level of structure and organization would work. I don't know. To me, that makes sense.
100%. It's similar like building a house, right? We have various types of workers, but if a community gets together to build a house and there is no organizing force, the thing's going to fall apart because someone needs to think about, how do we plan for the structure of it? How do we make sure that whatever regulations, if they are in place, are satisfied? Even if there aren't regulations, we certainly don't want the roof to collapse on the inhabitants after it's built, and on and on and on. So there are things that we need to think about so that the first rain, the whole thing just doesn't cave in.
Yeah.
So that's I think those are really good analogies. So we have this coin, we have UFD, and there are two sides of it. One of the sides of the coin is the community, and the other side of the coin is business, and they work together. Like, if you don't have one side of the coin, it doesn't really work. So today it's my humble pleasure to speak with you and to share with the group that's tuning in. What is the next milestone of this evolution of this, combining the community and business of UFD? And there are three parts to it: guilds, advisors, and stewards. And I'll preface the next piece by saying that all of this work, everything that we're doing, is and has been based on the servant leadership model. So that those who step up and volunteer their time, because this is all volunteer, by the way, are doing so in the service of the community. I can't, underline it with a thick enough marker. so it's in the service of the community and not the egos of the volunteers. So we've gone through an application process where we catalog their skills. So those were the folks who were interested in filling key functions. So some of us were already at the table. There were a few other folks who raised their hand and said, yeah, I really want to be involved. Not just I want to be involved, but there are a few other things to it. I'll go through them in a moment. And we've gone also through a scoring exercise based on a template so that we had some consistency in how we were considering each applicant. So, you know, there is actually a structure that goes into this. You know, that's as far as the pieces that go into the roles. There are kind of the three pieces, and I'll touch on them again near the closing because that goes into the call for action, if you will. But it's one thing is time. Do we have the time to give to the project, to give to the community? The second one is, do we have the talent? Do we have the knowledge? Do we have the experience? And the third T is tenacity. So are we bullheaded enough, if you will, to be able to face obstacles and not let them overcome us? Because, you know, I have this analogy I've been using for a while. I worked with various teams on the corporate side of things, on massive projects where I was managing groups of 200+ people in some instances. You know, $40 million+ budgets working on government contracts, and I worked with both business folks from various ministries, but I also worked with consultants and contractors, and there were distributed teams across multiple geographies. Some in the U.S., some in Canada, some offshore in India, and in other geographies as well. And there were points at which the contractors would come to us and say, "No, this is not possible. We run into a problem here." And I'd look at them and say, "You know what? If this were a Roomba, if this were an autonomous vacuum cleaner, and it ran into a wall, and it just stopped, what would you do? Explain it to me." And I'd be like, "Well, it requires fixing." I'm like, "That's right. So you run into obstacle, you learn something from that, and if you stop, we can consider this a failure only if we decide it's a failure. Otherwise, it's just another data point. It's just another thing that we've learned. So we don't stop. We keep persevering, and that's the tenacity that's required to navigate various obstacles that come at us, because this isn't smooth road. This isn't like, you know, we came into this and the hack never happened and the markets were just green the whole time and we're at, you know, 20 billion right now. I'd love for that to be the reality today. That is a reality that we're pulling towards us with the actions that we're doing. But one way to do this is to be passive and sit on the sidelines and say, you know what, it's great. We're just going to maintain our community, and at some point the markets will pick up and everything will be rosy. I'm not much in favor of passive behavior. I'm very much action driven, and I think that we can achieve greater success by positioning ourselves in the right way, so that not only is the market going to buoy us at some point, but that we are taking specific actions to become at least somewhat decoupled from the market forces. So it doesn't really matter if the market is up or down. We're either staying stable or we're continuing to move up, right? So how do we do that? That takes a few things. It takes looking at what are the next steps directly ahead of us and how to take them in a, you know, with the right shoes on and so on and so forth, to have the right tools in hand. The second is looking at, you know, a few steps ahead. Am I walking in a way that's going to bump into a wall or not? And the third is having a map in mind of longer term, where are we going? So, you know, if because then we can set some milestones to see, are we actually getting there or not? So, you know, if I'm going from Chicago to San Francisco and you know, I end up in Alaska, I kind of took a detour. You know, it's not the most effective way to get from one point to the other. So that's kind of the thing here is okay. Just enough structure to have that strategy in mind of the long-term goals. So all of this fits into a structure that I'm actually here to really talk about. And Ron, if you wouldn't mind fleshing out that picture of because you know, picture is worth 1,000 words, and I think that this analogy is actually great. It starts with the community. It starts and ends with the community. Frankly, that's the true thing. And there's a reason why it's represented as a halo, because this is our crown. Without it, there's no structure, there's no UFD, there's no business. Like none of this exists without you, without the community. And if we scroll down a little bit, We also have guilds, and I'll talk about them in a moment here and expand on that. They're oriented around key functions, and they're interconnected by this gold thread of the advisory function, which is vital and critical because it exchanges information between the guilds, and it also brings key information and data points to the stewardship table. And it's no mistake. It's not by accident that it's designed to look like the gold coin on which the unicorn sits in some of the memes, early memes, because it's meant to look like that. So go ahead, Ron.
Exit. I think it might be beneficial for our viewer, for our duster who's joining us, and I know you'll go into greater detail, but what are some examples you can give the viewer of what these different guilds are?
Perfect. That's a perfect segue. So they're organized into groupings. So the first is community guilds. So those that interface directly with our community. They are engagement. So think about rating and other activities across X, TikTok, Instagram, and other social platforms. Lore and harmony. So this is spreading the UFD lore, making sure that tense situations are diffused with humor and good vibes. So keeping things harmonious. The third is education and onboarding. So this is providing a welcome to new community members and helping them become oriented to various resources that we have available. And then marketing and event management. So spreading the gospel of UFD on the timeline and beyond, and managing various events. And this goes from planning through execution to awarding prizes if those are part of it, and so on. So that's the first grouping, is those community guilds: engagement, lore, harmony, onboarding, education, marketing, event management.
So and just for our viewer, as an example, let's say with marketing and event management, I think a lot of people are familiar with Georgie. Like Georgie is someone who is very involved in that guild. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. So she heads up the marketing efforts, and we have a new person who submitted their application interested in event management, so he'll be joining that group.
Mm-hmm.
On the engagement side, you all know Jack. He's just a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely, right. So force to be reckoned with. But Jack is the tip of the spear. There are so many other people who are involved in it. Wonderful raid moderators and so on. I'm actually, I think more of them as kind of the engagement leads or engagement drivers, really. But also, Scott on TikTok and the work that he's done there, Connector and the work on Instagram. Nate, who gets involved in activating across the social sphere. So it's not like one person's doing it all and has it all on their shoulders. There are a number of people that make this happen.
Yeah, but and the other thing I want to throw in as well, because I think it's hopefully becoming clear to our dusters, our viewers who are out there, this isn't like, how do I say this? Like with engagement, like, well, this is the way engagement is. And, like these are just like, I mean, to me, it feels really cool that we've got this, for lack of a better way to say it, loose structure in place, guidelines in place. Like if somebody wants to get involved, if somebody's out there like, hey, I really like it. Like if there's somebody listening right now who's like, I really like rating. I really like now they know where to go, right? They can go to Nate. They can go to Jack, Resilient Jack. They can go to that guild and find out how they can get involved instead of just kind of floating around out there, not knowing really what to do or where to go. This gives a real clear path. Is that safe to say?
Absolutely. And who to go to, that I'll be talking about that as well, because in our next Monday meeting, we're going to be talking about the results of the scoring. And part of that is going to be making sure that we have the individuals with the greatest skills and the greatest interest in managing each of these areas. So some of the names as far as which area they're in is going to shift, because by necessity, we needed to fill certain roles and people just jumped in. It doesn't mean that they're working with their preferred hand in all cases. Sometimes they just jumped in because there was a need, but they actually have skills in a different area or a great interest in a different area. So we also want to honor that. But yeah, we're going to expose this information so that you can, as a duster, you can see for yourself. Here is a scaffolding And how do I pin my efforts to that if I want to contribute?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
So we have the community guilds, which I just described. The second grouping is creative and expression guilds. So those have there are three parts to that grouping. One of them is art and lore. So this is providing the artistic direction and documenting and ensuring consistency of the UFD lore, whereas in the community it's spreading that lore, spreading the dust, as we say. The second function here is merchandise and sales. So this is production of the official UFD merchandise. This is nothing, no slight against UFD Corral. He's done an absolutely, and is doing an absolutely bang up job in the absence of more structure. And now that our IP is coming out, we're also looking at what is the next stage of that evolution of merchandising, and how do we harness all the intelligence that we have and all the skills that we have there. And UFD Corral has, like I said, done a great job in the absence of it. And also various sales activities that funnel, that will, because they're not doing that yet, but that will funnel funds to the UFD Treasury. And then the third piece, and this one is like, to me, is one of the, I mean, all of these things are important, but this one to me is really one of the linchpins, if you will, which is partnerships and external marketing. So this is finding and building partnerships, collaborations, and also spreading the gospel of UFD, not to other folks who know crypto, who think about crypto, who are already in our echo chamber to some extent. This is to the retail. How do we make it easy for the retail person to onboard to UFD? How do we make it most attractive to them? And we've got some amazing talent that we actually are starting to onboard. There was a sleeper agent in our midst for a while. Katie Kin, you may have seen her on the timeline starting to become active, and she's got some fantastic skills together with Fixless, and so we're starting to really catalyze a movement here that goes beyond just rhetoric. So this isn't just throwing something over the fence and saying I've got an idea, but this is also, I have an idea. This is how I think it could be executed. And by the way, I'm also putting out my hand. I have the cycles and the cajones, right? I have the perseverance, the tenacity to make it happen. I'm going to run with it, right? And it's a beautiful thing to see is people actually coming to the table and already starting to produce things. If it starts to feel like,
I want to interject something as well.
Please.
Even if we go to the community guilds, look at the effectiveness and the, I would say, success that like Resilient Jack and Nate's been involved as well, like on the engagement side. I know that Upstairs Susie's involved in that now, and they have a short weekly meeting, and like they're organized, and it's made the rating so much better. And again, I want to emphasize it's a place where any of you sleeper agent raiders out there, they know where they can go now to get direction, and where they can really learn like the best way that they can help the project is going to be going to that guild, the engagement guild, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just going to say that, you know, as I talk about these things, I think maybe you can start to hear it in my voice. I've got a smile from ear to ear, like almost literally, like my teeth are getting dry as I speak.
You know what, Exit? I'm going to end this live stream right now because you said the wrong thing. You're supposed to say your horn is tingling, okay?
I mean, that's happening all the time. That's just,
Okay.
but you can hear in my voice that my lips are getting stuck to my teeth because I'm having to take sips of water here because I'm literally vibrating with excitement. That's how freaking unicornish I am. So yeah, the third guild, the grouping of guilds is strategy and operations. So this is really where we start to marry up the community side with the business side. This is technology and innovation. So what are the technology supports that we need? For example, website, Discord, the different streaming tools. We're looking at, you know, how to multicast to additional social platforms, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff here. Automation. So how do we take the things that currently we're doing through brute force? And there's I'll take a very short segue here. In organizations, there is a tool like a litmus test, not to be confused with our great DJ Litmus, but there's a litmus test that organizations use to measure their maturity. It's called CMMI, so Capability Maturity Model. So it measures of how do organizations execute things, and it starts at level 1. And level 1 is essentially, things are chaos. Level 2 is kind of the organized heroics, where great things are getting done, but it's because a lot of people are putting a lot of time into it, a lot of effort into it. And yes, we can accomplish great things that way, but is it repeatable? Is it sustainable? Right? Or are we going to throw all our effort into it and burn out and have to disappear for a while? We don't want that. So as we go up the scale on the maturity model, capability maturity model, we start to approach a space where we have repeatable patterns. So we have some process that's sketched out, and it may not work correctly the first time, but we don't just throw it out. We say which pieces didn't work, let's replace them. And it may actually be through community engagement, right? Like we tried something and it flopped. Like why? Give us your ideas, give us your best suggestions. Let's make this better next time. Next time maybe it's a little bit better, but it's still not optimal. It's still not achieving the outcomes that we want. So we continue to optimize it until we have a pattern in place that we can repeat over and over and over. And it's easier, right? And some of that relies on automating those brute force efforts. So some of that you're already seeing the evidence of on our website, because there's a stats page that pulls information from various sources. So rather than having to go to 5 different websites and search for that information yourself, it's presented to you. So that's just one small example.
Okay.
The second piece here is logistics and operations. So this is supporting various meetings that happen, making sure that operation of various functions is running as smoothly as possible. So do different guilds have what they need? Do different functions have what they need? The third piece is strategy and organizational design. So this is continuing the refinement of the structures to ensure smoother and more efficient operation, and also ensuring that the work that we're doing actually fits, like I said before, that map, right? So that if we're going from Chicago to San Francisco, we're not ending up in Tokyo on the way there, unless we really wanted to make the detour for some specific reason. But that we're actually paying attention that the work we're doing fits, or at the very least doesn't hinder the long-term direction of the project. And then the
Hey,
fourth piece,
exit,
please.
because upstairs Susie yelled down at me that I still had that graphic up. I guess she wanted to see my face on the screen. Well, the third piece was logistics. Is that right? Because I'm taking notes.
Sorry. So first piece was tech and innovation. Second is logistics operations. The third
Gotcha.
is strategy and organizational design.
Okay.
So how do we continue to evolve? This conversation actually is rooted in strategy and organizational design. So how do we ensure that the things that we're doing aren't getting us further away from the goals that we have, at the very least, and the desired effect is that actually the things that we're doing are getting us closer. But in some cases, there are some valuable things that don't really get us closer, but are needed for a moment. So it's also responding to those. And we have operations, tactics, and strategies as the three layers. And then the fourth piece here, right, in the strategy and operations guilds, is finance and legal. So this is supporting the financial needs of UFD, and also liaising with legal counsel for things that include IP, contracts, liability clauses. And I'm not going to bore you with the legal terms, right? We hear enough of them to get a little bit uncomfortable. Let's just put it that way, right? And then the fourth grouping of the guilds is that kind of founding layer. So these are the shoulders on which all of the other work rests, and this is the advisory and strategic. So there are 2 tables here, rather than being called guilds, they're tables. So one of them is the advisory table. So these are the heads of guilds, as well as other key individuals who provide reporting and supporting information to the stewards, and they disseminate the information back between the guilds. So they're kind of the spreader bees, right? They're a critical component that keeps everything linked together. And also, the next piece is stewardship table, and this is where the key decisions that support both the community as well as the business interests of UFD. And this is pivotal, right? It's not the stewardship table is really the bridge, the full bridge between the community and business. Mm-hmm. And that as the stewardship table is considering various decisions, it needs to make those decisions in an informed way. And to do that, we need the information critically from the advisory table. So that function is like the middle layer is where everything is like this is the make or break layer. Really pivotal to the function. And so then the stewardship table makes decisions on the community and business side of UFD, evaluates all the information at hand to make the best choices in support of community, and it also ensures long-term sustainability of the business of UFD. So the focus here is on harmony, lore, culture, identity. So those are the kinds of considerations. Just
So
pause here because I can see the wheels spinning.
It's interesting to me, and I think very cool at the same time, that if I heard this correctly, the stewardship table is not in effect placed on top of, per se, the guilds, right? It's more working in conjunction with. Is that which I guess you could even say we're not even placing the guilds on top of the community, because interestingly in the graphic that you sent me, the community's at the very top. So I'm just, my wheels were spinning as you were saying that. Like, it's not like the stewards table is like we're a group of benevolent dictators or anything like that. It's this, it's not an authoritarian, it's this more of a incorporated structure. Is that accurate to say?
100%. And again, this goes back to what I mentioned earlier, which is the servant leadership model. So this is the lower down we go, the more that servant attitude is present and prevalent, because the stewardship supports via the advisory role, by the way, supports the guilds, and the guilds are there to support the community. That's it.
Yeah.
And to grow the value of UFD and to make sure that our bags freaking skyrocket. This is Valhalla. This is our Valhalla territory stuff, right? I mean, for real, like the way that I really see it is, we're not here because I have got nothing better to do and I'm just bored, right? Like, of course I get a lot of value, I get a lot of personal pleasure, a lot of satisfaction out of achieving specific things for the benefit of the community. But you know, I used to tell my employees that back when I had when I exchanged my time for money, which I no longer do. But I used to tell them that I'm really selfish, and they would look at me like, your actions aren't really consistent with that. So what gives? And I would say that's because we're all used to seeing short-term selfish, where people are actually doing things that are counter to being long-term selfish. Like, if I want to achieve something, if I do good things come out of it. They may not come out immediately, and it may seem like I'm giving something up, and I'm not doing what I want. I'm doing something for somebody else. Well, it comes back to me tenfold. I know that every one of those actions is actually working for the long-term benefit of my own bag as well. The fact that we're all going to be successful, well, if I were the only billionaire out there, I'd be freaking bored because I'd have no one to interact with. It's a very, very lonely place. The more money we have, the more wealth we have, the more lonely it gets.
Yeah.
But here we're building a community of prosperity, right? And that's built on the foundation of honesty and integrity. That's amazing, right, to me.
Yeah.
So and in executing all of these functions, because those are the four groupings, right? So the creative guilds, the community guilds, creative and expression guilds, strategy and operation guilds, as well as the advisory and strategic functions, the four groupings. And in executing our functions, we always ask ourselves a question. And this was something that a really wise person on one of the projects I worked with.
Let me. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, please do.
I want to make sure I have this right. So there's the four guilds, the community guilds, the creative guilds, strategic and operations, and then the advisory and strategic. And the stewards are part of. Is that an accurate way to say the advisory and strategic guild?
Yeah, it's actually,
is that a misstatement, or is that?
No, I made a misstatement, Ron. I apologize. I should have said advisory and stewardship.
Okay.
So the fourth is the advisory and stewardship area. Yeah.
Okay. So the stewardship area is because I think maybe some people may make the mistakes of, well, the stewardship, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier, like they're the executives or blah blah, but that's not really the case. It's the stewardship guild is incorporated, stewardship group is incorporated within one of the guilds. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, essentially it's a stewardship function, right? That works because it's enabled by the advisory roles.
Gotcha.
And it's in support of the guilds, but also
oh no, we lost you. Exit. All right, guys.
Can you?
Yep, I can hear you now.
All right, perfect. I saw the little blip, the hourglass.
No, you're back.
All right, thanks. So yeah, the stewardship table is where there is the heaviest burden, if you will, of administrative functions. So the stewardship table is where, because these individuals are going to be needing to review documents. So if like reading 10-page documents, if reading legal jargon appeals to you, if scrutinizing decisions appeals to you, then this is a function that you probably do well in. But if you want to more have fun on the timeline, interact with the community and things like this, then there are other roles that are a better fit and better that suit you better. So we also want to make sure that we're not taking some of the amazing and incredible talent that we have. And I'll actually single out for one moment Georgie, because she's a great example of that. I'm not gonna expose the details of her application because those are all kept confidential. But I can say, she's got incredible skills. And when we're asking the question of where do you want to assign those skills, and even in conversation with her as well, she's like, I want to do a lot of wonderful things for the community, but please don't handcuff me to the desk with a bunch of documentations and paperwork and all that stuff. I've got enough of that in my own private life. I don't need more of it when I'm out to support the community. That's not what I signed up for. And there are lots of folks like that who are doing amazing things and who are amazing contributors, and not just contributors, leaders in their disciplines. And they just don't really need or want to be mired in some of the in the bog of paperwork and logistics and all those things that go with it. So the burden of administration, if you will, and of all those activities increases the further down that the line we go of those layers. From the community at the top through the guilds to the advisory function, and then stewardship continues to increase as we go down. But in executing all of those functions, we ask ourselves a question, and this is something, as I started to say earlier, was something I picked up and learned from a really wise individual who worked on he was a consultant. He worked on one of the projects that I was involved in. And on the corner of the whiteboards in our meeting rooms, he put a little box, and he put 1 + 1 =? And this is a question that I ask myself in our various efforts. So if the answer is 2, wrong, because then we could have done the same work individually. We didn't actually need to waste the time to meet and debate something. We are always striving for that answer to be greater than 2. Right? So that means that what we achieve through our discussion is greater than what we could have done on our own. And this is the unicorn magic instantiated. This is the magic at work. And so I'm almost wrapping up, right? Because we've talked about this a fair bit. But if you're asking yourself, yeah, that's great. We heard a lot of rhetoric and a lot of stuff here. And not
hold on, Exit. Hold on, Exit. Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to point out to our viewer, our dusters out there, maybe buttercups who've yet to buy their first UFD. This is the part where Exit the Matrix, unless I'm mistaken, is going to talk to you and what you can do if you're saying, yeah, I want to be part of this. I feel like I can do more to help UFD. Is that what you're going to talk about next here, Mr. Exit?
Whoa. Mr. Exit, Mr. Ron, the goat Ron Toshi. So I mean, you've heard me talk a bunch, and not from the wisest guy at the table. Let's just face it. But I'm trying my best for you guys. So,
well, I'm setting a high standard for you, Exit. So you're doing great.
So in summary, what does all of this mean? Why are we here? Why should you care? We are decentralized and yet organized. There's dichotomy. We are here to serve the community and the business of UFD. We're here for you, the dusters, for you, the buttercups, for anybody in the community. We're here to grow the value, and ultimately, value and price will meet. There's a vacuum between the two, and I can just hear the thing collapse together, and it's going to be a sound that will deafen hundreds of thousands of people. It will melt faces, and I have zero doubt of this. I've seen this future. We're pulling it towards ourselves with all the actions that are taking place, all the things that you're doing as well as a community. We're doing this to make this move efficient and effective, and not just, like I said earlier, sit on the sidelines, wait for the market to carry us. And while we're making the journey, also make it more enjoyable, provide our community with a stronger voice on key questions. And so you can actually expect to see an increasing number of polls on our Discord where we're going to ask for inputs on various initiatives and options. Why not on X? Well, because bots can come on X and skew any kind of a poll. We actually want to make sure that dusters have the voice in the direction of what specific tasks. So now the ask, and thanks for that earlier segue, Ron, because yes, there's an ask. Do you have some free cycles? So that's time. Do you have some expertise or experience that you want to contribute? That's the talent. And are you able to navigate obstacles like an autonomous vacuum cleaner, learning from them and not letting them stop you? So that's the tenacity. Like if you've got the 3 T's, then please raise your hand on X, on Discord, via email from our website. We need more active CEOs to make UFD an incredible success based on the collection of the 3 T's. And if you have suggestions, like if you've listened to this and you're like, yeah, this is BS, I don't agree with this. That I frankly don't care about. What I care about is why, because the why, disagreements is what makes us stronger when we get curious. So I'm interested why. Share your ideas. Be respectful, be thoughtful, and share them. The venues are there, and if you're not sure where to put your suggestions, join our Discord today. Just let it rip. Ask in the general chat, and someone will point you in the right directions. Because it's together that we're gonna win, and horns up. That's the big thing here. And I'll just add. So this is year one, right? And this is year one, and you've heard the things that we're doing, the things that we're continuing to evolve. You've seen how much has happened over the last few months. A new website stood up, Discord with a bunch of different things going in it. The rating group's much more organized. Marketing ticking on all cylinders, and it's only going to get better, all of it. So think about our second birthday. Like I'm sitting here, I can't sit still, I'm vibrating. I am so bullish, I'm unicornish. My horn is tingling, like
your horn
my
is
head
glowing.
is gonna explode. Yes, exactly. It's tingling so much, it's glowing.
Unicorn horn. Right.
Yeah. So Valhalla, right,
Valhalla.
brothers and sisters, the unicorn family. Like this is where we can achieve together. I mean, I'll just shut up now. And
I think, and I got 2 things I want to say. Number one, if we go out to the website, there's a spot on our website now that tells us how many dusters we have. But last I checked, it was around 35,000. Is that accurate? And from your understanding, Exit?
Yeah, it's a little. Let me just look at this right now.
Can I pull it up? Can I show people on the screen if I go to the website? Can you tell me where to go?
Yeah, you can just go to the stats page.
Okay, so hold on here. Okay, stats. This is unicornfartdesk.com. If I go to stats, and where is it on here? There it is right there. Total holders, 35,599 is what I see. Okay.
Yes.
So when I think about, and that's our community, obviously. When I think about our community, 35,000 people, right? All connected. There was a guy named Sath who's a duster, and he said this one time. It's like we're a giant cluster of nodes, and we're all connected together, right? We all have these connections, like when you see those constellation printouts, however you want to say it, but we're all connected together. When I think about 35,000 people without any structure whatsoever, right? Sure, we've had this unbelievable experience over the last year, and we did have some loose structure in place. But if you think about the difference between 35,000 people just kind of randomly because they love UFD, which is awesome, 100%, just kind of randomly trying to do things to help further the project, as opposed to a situation like we're describing right now where, hey, we've got and structure is the only word I can come up with, but I don't really think it's the right word. But nonetheless, we've got systems in place. We have information for you about where you can go if you want to make a bigger impact on the project. And I don't think people love to talk about pudgy penguins and what Luke has done there. Hey, they've got some structure in place, right? And we're not trying to emulate them. I mean, we're always going to be our own. They're a kind of a different structured business than we are at this point. But I think even Doge, from what I understand, there's like the Doge Foundation or something like that, like these big projects, and all of them are different. All of them are unique. But when I look at the work, and by the way, before I forget, thank you, because I know you've put in a tremendous amount of work and we're very lucky to have you because you are very talented to kind of come up with something that works with our decentralized structure and community, but in a way that makes us like multiple times better than if we just all kind of randomly are out there doing things without any. I mean, we're, like you said, 1 + 1 can equal 3, and with Unicorn Fart Dust it can equal 4.
Absolutely. And actually, you know, I wanted to also mention, because I just went to the stats page myself and scrolled down a tiny bit, and then social dominance. We're currently 7th in our rank among all of the pump fund meme coins.
Yeah.
So it's not that number, the 7, that's particularly exciting or important. But what I wanted to mention is above us, the token, the next one above has a very small market cap, and it's a super anomaly because it's an AI based meme coin type of thing. They're always kind of a bluebird in the thing. But there are a few things that are really important. Our market cap is 9.86, as it shows on the social dominance. It's actually a little bit lower. It's 9.7 currently. And yet, the next one up in the 4th spot, Vine, 28 million. The one above it, 334 million. Then 360. Then 1.59 billion. Guess what? We are in an amazing company.
Yeah.
So we are punching way above our weight. Not only that, I mean, this I haven't actually seen. I don't think I've seen it since I built the API that collects this information, and since I've been looking at the website on a daily basis. But our sentiment score, I think Fixless posted something about the fact that our sentiment score was at I think 85 or something like that, 86, which was the highest it's been even since we had all-time high in our market cap. Our sentiment score today is 90.
Wow.
That is on, like, such overwhelmingly positive vibes on the timeline. I mean, and yes, it makes sense because we're getting closer to our birthday, so more things are being posted that are very positive, and in the light of that. But still, folks, like, this is you. This is our collective energy. This is our collective vibration. This is why 1 + 1 can equal a billion. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And we are in this incredible period of time. I believe like what we are doing is leading edge, maybe even bleeding edge, right? Because sometimes there's a little bit of bleeding when you're on the leading edge. But when you look at like the gift of technology that we have right now, the gift of Web3 and the gift of the blockchain, and they really, all three of those are gifts, right? They're things that 30 years ago, if you told me that any one of those three would be in existence, I wouldn't believe it, that I'd be here in St. Louis and you're where you are, way different part of the world, and we're communicating, but it's not just you and me, but we've got over 300 people also joining us live, but that we'd also have this ability through Web3 to build this community, and because of the blockchain, be able to build something of real value, do things like donate almost $5,000 to live like a unicorn, amongst a host of other major accomplishments that this community had over the last year, without a real framework. I'll call it a framework. I like the word framework. A framework like we have now with the guilds, where people we have the ability for 1 + 1 to equal 3, 4, or 5. Who knows? I'm super excited. And I want to say thank you to you for your work on this and in many other areas for the project as well. And for anybody out there who's listening right now, that wants to be part of something super. I mean, the uniqueness of Unicorn Fart Dust, the uniqueness of, my gosh, 1 year ago right now, today, I'd never owned a crypto in my life. I didn't know what Web3 was. I didn't know any of this stuff. And that, that together we've been able to build this and to get where we are today, I think is extraordinary. But the future, like you said, when we look at the 2-year birthday, is even more optimistic.
Absolutely. So exciting. And of course, we've got our birthday coming up, so that's also very exciting. So please keep an eye on a few different spaces. Website is one of them. There are a couple of facelifts and surprises that are coming down the pike on that front. plus a whole just like a whole list that would take us longer to count than we have time. So and thank you, Ron. And like for me, if to the community again, if a lowly worm like me, like honestly, I am a servant of the unicorn. Yes, I have some skills, but I sat on the sidelines for a while, and then a lot of it was due to health reasons, but still. There are no excuses, there are just results or lack thereof. So if someone like me can come in and start achieving and start catalyzing and start also gaining recognition, which is not important for me, but the recognition that reflects back the community light and the spirit of the community. Think about what you can do. Think about the amazing skills that you have and all the unique passion, all the unique drive, and yeah. And it doesn't have to be hours and hours. It's like some of it can be done asynchronously. So yeah, the things that we can achieve are absolutely astounding.
And one more time, what's the most effective way? If somebody out there who's listening says, yeah, I want to get involved. I want to get involved in the rating guild, or I want to get involved in one of these other areas that you talked about. They can go on to Discord, correct?
That is the best way, because things get really lost on X. We have very, very like a lot of chat, so you have to scroll through a lot of things to find stuff. But on Discord, it's a lot easier to do so. And if you don't know how to find Discord, go to our website, go to the contact page, which is actually the bottom of the community page. The little bubble there for Discord. Click on it. You'll be
wait a minute. Let's show.
Right,
let me show people.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the home page. And then how would I go about finding press contact?
Contact. You can you can either contact the community, but contact is the easiest thing. So just scroll down a little bit. It's just because of the wallet, it bumps it up. And the second icon is Discord.
That one there. Discord.
The little smiley face of Discord. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And then that'll bring them to the Unicorn Fart Test Discord server. I sound like I know what I'm talking about.
You do. That's because you do. You've been there. That's awesome.
Oh, yes. I'm learning Discord, definitely. And that's the other thing too, right? Like this, I think, this project does give the person out there listening, right? So yes, we're talking to you, the opportunity to learn as well. I mean, I've learned a lot about X. I've learned a lot about Discord. I'm learning a lot about community building, and everybody, and it's fun to learn and it's fun to grow, and we're all doing it together because, like I said earlier, crypto is still very young. Web3 is even younger, and Unicorn Fart Test is just coming up on its 1-year birthday. Exit. Thank you. Did I forget to ask you anything? Any parting words you want to leave with our guests?
Not at all. I mean, I've said it already so many times. Thank you, guys. Thanks to each and every one of you who's out there burning the candle, right? And holding the light, because it takes the herd to make this happen.
It does. It's a community driven project. And all right, my friend. Well, thank you. Thanks to our viewer. Thanks to our dusters, and even some of those buttercups who might be out there. I encourage everyone to get involved. I think the future looks very bright. Don't forget, number one, be good to yourself today. That will give you a platform from which to be good to other people. So thank you, and bye-bye, Exit. Thank you.
Bye. Valhalla!
Valhalla! Valhalla! Horns up!
Woohoo!